Scar gets a lot of attention when it comes to The Lion King, but some fans might argue that Zira was a far more influential villain than Mufasa's brother. I mean, even just the way she looked was intimidating when you compare her to the other lionesses in the franchise, especially with that gnarly wound on her ear. Have you ever wondered how exactly Zira got that scar, though? While Disney has never outright explained where it came from, there are a few theories that might be able to answer that question. Here are some of the most likely reasons for Zira's mysterious and intimidating wound on her right ear. Zira was first introduced in The Lion King 2: Simba's Pride, and in what is probably my favorite Disney sequel to this day, she proved that she was Scar's true successor. Not only did Zira have a menacing scar on her right ear that matched her male counterpart's wound over his left eye, but she also had a wicked smile that could send chills through your entire body. Zira always looked like she was ready to hurt anyone or anything that stood against her, and by the way the second movie went, it was clear that she would do anything to bring Scar's vision to life. Zira was hands down Scar's most devout follower, which is why she was banished to the Outlands with the rest of Scar's fanatics. But what turned Zira into such an evil lion? And why did she have such a massive chunk missing from her ear? Honestly, there's a chance that Zira's wounded ear was caused by the very lion that she praised so much, Scar. As I mentioned before, Zira was supremely loyal to Scar and basically became his primary fanatic. Some might even suggest that her loyalty to Scar was more important to her than her own family was, which is why she wouldn't hesitate to kill or lose her own children for the sake of his memory. That's not to say that she wasn't upset when Nuka died in The Lion King 2, but she was basically ready to have Kovu killed once he had officially sided with Simba and Nala. That level of loyalty isn't something that's just born out of the blue. Usually it takes a lifetime of bonding to feel that strongly about someone, and this could imply that Scar and Zira had known each other since they were both cubs, which would mean that Zira would have known about Scar's ambition to become king over Mufasa. If that's the case though, then Zira would also understand that as long as Ahadi and Uru, Scar's parents, were alive, that would never happen. Well, according to this theory, Zira took matters into her own hands in trying to speed up Scar's path to becoming king, and in doing so she may have set off a chain of events that nearly cost the lioness her head, or her ear at least. You see, according to this theory, at some point in her young life, Zira targeted Scar's family without him knowing about it and tried to kill them so that he wouldn't have anyone standing against him for the throne. While she was unable to kill Ahadi, there is a chance that during a hunt, which is performed by the lionesses of the Pride, Zira got the jump on Uru and ultimately caused the queen's death. Zira was shown to be smart, so she probably tried to make it look like an accident. But in passing, maybe she let it slip to Scar what she had done for him. As much as Scar wanted to be king though, there is no reason why he would have wanted to see his mother killed. In fact, she might have been the only member of his family to treat him fairly. According to the theory, once Scar found out what Zira had done, he attacked her. In the process, he nearly bit off her right ear, leaving the lioness with a constant reminder of the one time she crossed him. Zira likely would have left the Pride at that point, only to return after Scar had officially usurped the throne and killed Mufasa. After that, the lioness likely did everything that she could to earn her way back into Scar's favor. She even raised her children in his image. As you know though, Scar's reign came to an end when Simba returned and the hyenas ate him, and Zira's demise came only a few years later when she tried once again to bring about Scar's image for the Pride Lands. It's important to note that this theory is entirely speculation, and Disney hasn't confirmed this in any way, but maybe we'll see a bit more of Zira in the upcoming Mufasa film. That being said, do you know what would have been worse for Zira if it wasn't Scar who wounded her ear? What if Zira received her wound from the hands of an animal that will eventually become her species' biggest predator, humans? If you take a good look at the mark on Zira's ear, you'll notice that it looks more like a hole or a piercing than it does a bite mark. Well, one thing that poachers, zoos, and other large animal handlers like to do with their animals is to pierce their ears with a tag that has an identifying number on it. I know it sounds awful, but it happens all the time, especially if poachers are planning on shipping or selling an animal. Well, according to this theory, that's exactly what happened to Zira. While she was out on a hunt or simply wandering the outskirts of the Pride Lands alone, she noticed something that she had never seen before. What she saw turned out to be humans, and as she stalked and watched them, she was unaware that she was being stalked at the same time. If the theory's true, then Zira was ambushed by a group of poachers who were out on patrol. They most likely would have tranquilized the lioness before tagging her, which in this case created the circular wound on her right ear. But that's not even the worst part of it. According to the theory, if Zira was captured by poachers as a young lioness and they didn't kill her right away, they likely planned on selling her. This means that not only would she have been tagged on the ear, but the poachers likely would have spayed her as well. This tracks with the way that a lot of wildlife and animal control organizations handle stray animals, particularly cats. If you live in an area with a lot of stray cats, you might actually notice quite a few of them with scarred or clipped ears. This is because in order to control the animal population, they're often captured and then spayed before either being released again or brought to an adoption center. Now, we know that the average animal control center wouldn't do this to lions, obviously, but it wouldn't be beyond the scope of a poacher, especially if the lion was going to be sold in the black market. That means all in one swoop, Zira lost her freedom and her ability to have cubs all at the hands of humans. As we know from The Lion King 2, though, if Zira was captured by poachers, she clearly managed to escape at some point. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been around to lead the Outlanders on their attack against the Pride Lands. Now, if this theory does end up being true, that would be huge for the world of The Lion King because it would officially introduce humans into the area surrounding the Pride Lands. Not only that, but it would also mean that Zira was the only lion to ever interact with humans, and because of how poorly it went, she likely would have had a hard time trusting anyone after that. Anyone aside from Scar, of course. I feel like no matter what happened to Zira, almost nothing could make the lioness turn away from Scar's ideals. Now, I know what you're asking. If Zira was actually captured by poachers and wound up being spayed so that she couldn't have cubs, then where did Nuka, Vitani, and Kovu come from? Well, just because they were in Zira's care in the Outlands, that doesn't necessarily mean that she was their biological mother. She might have just been caring for them for Scar. And once he died at the end of The Lion King, she became their sole caretaker. You see, there's a small chance that Nuka and Vitani were actually the children of Scar and a lioness named Serafina. For those who might not know, Serafina was Nala's mother in the first movie, and she was originally destined to be Sarabi's younger sister. If this is true, then that would mean that Vitani and Nuka were actually Nala's siblings or half-siblings. That would explain their interaction in The Lion King 2 when Vitani spitefully asked, "Where's your pretty daughter Nala?" as if she was familiar with Nala but was resentful toward her. It's the way that she said Nala's name that really made it seem like they were more familiar with each other than the movie originally led on. As far as Kovu's concerned, it's unclear exactly who his mother was in this case. The only thing that's basically certain is that he was Scar's kid and the one he supposedly handpicked to be his heir. Now, even if Zira wasn't the mother of Nuka, Vitani, or Kovu, it makes sense that she would look after them after they were banished from the Pride Lands. You see, in the real world, when a new male lion becomes a king of a pride, in this case, the new king typically kills all the cubs that aren't his so that he can create more of his own children. Well, you have to remember that this is Disney, which means instead of killing all of Scar's children when Simba took over as the rightful king, he likely just banished them with their new adoptive mother, Zira, which I guess you could say is a small silver lining in an otherwise sad story. Because if this theory is true, Zira was captured by humans and put through immense trauma only to escape with a hole in her ear and the inability to have cubs of her own. So it's nice to think that she at least got to have a family after all, even if she did act like a true villain in the second movie. I'm curious to hear what you think though. Was the scar on Zira's ear caused by humans who managed to capture and spay the poor lioness, or did she get wounded in some other conflict? Be sure to let me know in the comments below.